There's an old saying that elephants never forget. But is that actually true? Or is it just a myth that somehow became famous? The surprising answer is that this saying is much closer to reality than most people realize. Elephants really do have one of the most powerful memories in the entire animal kingdom. So what's actually going on inside their heads? Let's find out. First, let's talk about their brains. An elephant's brain is the largest of any land animal on Earth. It can weigh around 5 kilograms, which is roughly 3 to 4 times heavier than a human brain. But size alone doesn't explain everything. What really matters is a specific part of the brain called the hippocampus. This is the region responsible for forming and storing long-term memories. In elephants, this area is proportionally larger and more developed than in almost any other animal, including humans. Scientists believe this is a big part of why elephants can remember places, faces, and events for decades, sometimes even for their entire lives. Let's start with something elephants are famous for: remembering water. Elephants often live in dry, unpredictable environments where water can disappear for months at a time. A herd's survival can depend entirely on knowing exactly where to find it, even during severe droughts that only happen once every few decades. Researchers have observed older female elephants leading their herds on long journeys, sometimes over 100 kilometers, straight to a watering hole that hadn't been used in years. Younger elephants in the group had never even seen that location before. The only reason the herd survived was because one elephant remembered. This is where the matriarch comes in. Elephant herds are usually led by the oldest and most experienced female, known as the matriarch. She acts almost like a living map and a living history book combined into one. Her memory doesn't just include water sources, it includes safe migration routes, dangerous areas to avoid, and even which seasons certain plants become available to eat. Younger elephants rely on her knowledge to survive, especially during difficult years. This is actually one reason why losing an older matriarch can be so devastating for an entire herd. Scientists have found that herds led by older, more experienced matriarchs tend to survive droughts significantly better than herds led by younger ones. Decades of memory can genuinely mean the difference between life and death. Now let's talk about something even more surprising. Elephants don't just remember places, they remember individuals. Researchers have found that elephants can recognize and remember other elephants they haven't seen in many years, sometimes decades. When old herd members reunite after a long separation, they often show clear signs of excitement, touching each other with their trunks, calling loudly, and moving closely together in what looks a lot like a joyful reunion. Elephants also appear to recognize humans they've had meaningful interactions with in the past. There are documented cases of elephants that were rescued or cared for by specific people, showing recognition and calm, gentle behavior toward those same people even after many years apart. On the flip side, elephants also seem to remember negative experiences. Some researchers have observed that elephants can become fearful or defensive around certain types of people, clothing, or vehicles associated with past danger, such as poachers or hunters. This suggests their memory isn't just about places and friends. It also helps protect them from repeated threats. Elephants can even distinguish between different human languages and accents. In one well-known study, elephants reacted more cautiously to recordings of voices speaking in languages associated with groups known to pose a threat to them compared to voices from groups that were historically less dangerous. That's a remarkably specific kind of memory and pattern recognition. Now here's something that might surprise you even more. Elephants appear to understand death in a way very few other animals do. When an elephant in a herd dies, other elephants often gather around the body. They may touch it gently with their trunks, stand quietly beside it, or return to visit the bones long after the body has decomposed. Scientists are careful not to claim elephants grieve in exactly the same way humans do, since we can't know for certain what an animal is feeling inside. But the behavior is consistent enough that many researchers believe elephants form deep, lasting emotional bonds tied to memory. Some elephants have even been observed gently touching the bones or tusks of elephants that died years earlier, seemingly recognizing them among scattered bones from other species. This suggests their memory of individuals can last long after that individual is gone. Memory also connects to something else remarkable about elephants: how they communicate. Elephants can produce extremely low, deep rumbling sounds called infrasound, which travel through the ground and through the air over long distances, sometimes several kilometers. Many of these sounds are too low for human ears to even detect. Researchers believe elephants use these long-distance calls to stay in contact with family members who may be far out of sight. A matriarch might recognize the specific rumble of a relative she hasn't heard in months, almost like recognizing a familiar voice on the phone. This means elephant memory isn't just visual. It's also deeply tied to sound, since elephants seem to store and recall the unique vocal patterns of individuals they know well. This kind of long-distance recognition became especially clear in a famous long-term research project in Amboseli National Park in Kenya, where scientists have studied the same elephant families for decades. Researchers there were able to track individual elephants by name for most of their lives, documenting births, deaths, friendships, and family reunions across generations. This research became one of the strongest pieces of evidence that elephant memory and elephant relationships can last an entire lifetime. Elephants also show impressive problem-solving skills that rely heavily on memory. In some studies, elephants have been able to remember the location of hidden food after long delays, recall which tools worked for a specific task, and even recognize themselves in a mirror, a rare ability shared by only a handful of species, including humans, dolphins, and great apes. Recognizing your own reflection is thought to require a certain level of self-awareness, and many researchers believe strong memory plays a role in supporting that kind of awareness. In sanctuaries and rescue centers, caretakers have reported elephants recognizing specific routines, specific caretakers, and even specific sounds associated with feeding time, sometimes remembering these patterns after years of separation from that environment. This kind of everyday memory might seem small compared to remembering a matriarch's migration route, but it shows just how deeply memory is woven into nearly every part of an elephant's daily life. One especially striking example comes from elephant orphanages in Kenya, where young elephants are hand-raised by human keepers after losing their mothers. In several documented cases, elephants released back into the wild years later have appeared to recognize their original keepers during chance encounters, approaching calmly and displaying familiar, gentle behavior instead of the caution they typically show toward unfamiliar humans. Researchers are careful about how they interpret these moments, since it's hard to prove exactly what an elephant remembers or feels. But the consistency of these reunions across many different elephants and many different years has convinced many scientists that this kind of long-term recognition is real. It's worth being honest about the limits of this research, too. Scientists generally avoid saying elephants remember things exactly the way humans do, since we can't directly measure another animal's inner experience. What researchers can measure is behavior, and elephant behavior consistently points to long-term recognition, strong emotional responses, and detailed spatial memory that lasts for years, sometimes decades. That's already remarkable, even without claiming we fully understand what's happening inside an elephant's mind. So why did elephants evolve such a powerful memory in the first place? Scientists believe it likely comes down to survival. Elephants live in complex social groups, travel long distances, and face unpredictable environments where the ability to remember matters enormously. Herds that could recall water sources during droughts, avoid old dangers, and maintain strong social bonds were simply more likely to survive and pass on their genes. Over countless generations, this pressure likely helped shape the elephant brain into the memory powerhouse it is today. It wasn't random, it was practical. Memory kept them alive. There's also a social side to this story. Elephants live for around 60 to 70 years, which is unusually long for a wild animal. That long lifespan gives them decades of time to build relationships, learn their environment, and pass down knowledge to younger generations. In a sense, elephant societies function a little like human communities, where older individuals carry knowledge that younger ones haven't had the chance to learn yet. This also means that when humans hunt or remove older elephants from a population, we're not just losing one animal. We may be erasing decades of irreplaceable knowledge that the rest of the herd depended on. So the next time you hear someone say, "Elephants never forget," Know that it's not just a cute expression. It's rooted in real, well-documented science. Their memory helps them find water in a drought, recognize old friends after years apart, avoid old dangers, and even seem to honor their dead. In many ways, an elephant's memory isn't just a personal trait. It's a survival tool passed down through generations, carried inside the mind of every matriarch who leads her herd through an unpredictable world. If you found this fascinating, you might also enjoy learning how dolphins remember each other's voices for decades, even after being separated. That might be the next mystery worth exploring.